We're definitely up in the headwaters, close to the source of the Cuyahoga River. If you're familiar with the way the Cuyahoga flows, it goes south, it goes through the Akron area, and then it turns northward, flows through downtown Cleveland, and then into the lake. So we're way up near the source of it. It's some of the higher ground where smaller tributaries feed the Cuyahoga. It's like a living laboratory where we don't just have the items in the museum's collections, but we have sites that support living populations of these various species. Generally, a ravine is the deepest part of the floodplain through which a major river or stream flows. In this case, it's referring to the main ravine that's down there by the dam, the main course of the Cuyahoga River. We are at the Kelsey Ravine in Geauga County, just southeast of Chardon. It's named after the family that owned the property for many years. We were grateful that we were able to work with to conserve this site.
My grandmother bought the property in 1935, and the dam was already here, the lake was already here. Oh, I loved spending summers here. I loved it. I spent hours and hours and hours in the canoe. You could go off by yourself and do whatever you wanted, and nobody's gonna even know you're there. It was great. Frogs, salamanders, turtles. One summer we had osprey nesting up the lake. My mother was Barbara Platt Kelsey. She was very interested in the natural world. She was interested in geology. She was interested in birds, wildflowers. And really kind of led the way about valuing this place and what it was. She was adamant about native plants and not developing the place. It was very fortunate that through the work of the Trust for Public Land and then the museum that we were able to get this place to the museum.
Our program really was focused on protecting rare habitat and the rare species within those rare habitats. So we wanted to have examples of all the different ecosystems that exist in our region before settlement. Every once in a while we try to take other departments out into our natural areas. In this case, we were out there with our education division. And it's really amazing what you can do when you get colleagues from different departments together, looking at a site and brainstorming the possibilities. We normally in the conservation field don't celebrate dams. They're usually not considered a good thing because they're a barrier for the movement of fish and other aquatic organisms. In this case, this particular dam has been here for a really long time. It's created quite a bit of wetland habitat adjacent to the lake. In order to acquire this property, we applied for a grant from Ohio EPA, and they asked us, why don't you think about taking out the dam? And in this instance, we actually argued against it. Even though it's a barrier for some good species, it's also a barrier for invasive species. And there's a species of crayfish that is non-native, invasive, and we found it on one side of the dam and not on the other. So in some cases, dams keeps good species from moving, but it also keeps the bad ones from moving. It's fun to see the Canada yew. So it's this little evergreen. It looks a lot like the yews that people grow in their yard. That's listed as a potentially threatened plant in the state of Ohio. So there's some cages all around the preserve that are protecting those Canada yew. We're hoping they're here 5, 10, 20, or 100 years from now. And that's really one of the main focuses of our program. Vernal pools are also called ephemeral pools. And they're wetlands. They're usually in forested areas, and they stay wet through much of the season as breeding habitat for amphibians and for salamanders and frogs. In many cases, vernal pools are 12 to 18 inches in depth to support amphibians, but perhaps not to support some of the fish and things that would prey on the amphibians. In many cases, they're a good measure of water quality. You won't often have a good diversity of amphibians if you have poor water quality. So they tell us a little bit about the kind of habitat we're in.
Just keep swimming. I'm so proud of you.
There's nice big exposed Sharon conglomerate ledges on either side there. It's one of the bedrock types in our region. So when we're talking about bedrock, we're talking about ancient rock. This is what existed here many, many, many millions of years ago. It exposes ledges and caves and other interesting features that we can see right here on the preserve. Ferns and trees and other plants will come out of the cracks of this bedrock, and it's a pretty unique thing to have on a preserve. There's a big piece of Sharon conglomerate that essentially sloughed off and it's sort of leaning to the side, and it's really quite a beautiful spot, an iconic kind of fixture here at the preserve. 300 million years ago when we were under an ocean here, this is the bedrock's been here a long time. A lot of times what happens is the glaciers scraped over and exposed areas of bedrock, and so we have these exposed areas where the glaciers sort of stalled out. So adjacent to that, there's a cave. It was one of the longest in Geauga County.
The cave had the reputation of having been where the bear was. We all knew about the bear. And the bear, I believe the last bear, was seen in somebody else's grandfather's time.
There's some pretty unique species of bats that were documented at this site.
We would go in the cave, and that was something you did if you were really brave.
And our focus is less on just, recreation and more on habitat integrity. We hope that the habitat remains, in a high quality state the way it is now for as long as possible. I do have a passion for it. I get pretty into these projects. I enjoy the idea of leaving something behind. I mean, the idea of conserving something in perpetuity is, of course, something we really grasp onto in this line of work.
My sisters and I are very happy to see that the museum is now stewarding this place. And there's no doubt in my mind that my parents are happy about it. And my grandmother as well. This is what they would have wanted.